Say hi to James. Made me an entrepreneur. Teaching me day after day after day till it all was a blur. Now he on tour, he can drop in your city tonight. Nevin Zin coming in for the fight. Making that powerful statement, saying that you meant for greatness. Better be ready for absolute.
Good morning, Absolute Nation. Listen, I got to tell you, there is nothing better than getting a chance to connect with you guys. Sometimes we go through ups and downs in the course of a day. Your spirits are high, and other days they're low. Life is a roller coaster, it happens. But what I want to tell you is that whether it's the high or the low, you got to be able to find a way to calibrate yourself. I want to speak a little bit to you about the fact of like just the emotional intelligence aspect of what we deal with. Most of the time, people get upset and they go off and you say what you feel because you're hurt, not realizing that the tongue is a small member, but it can separate friends and relationships forever. You have to be able to guard your tongue, guard yourself so that you can deal with situations beyond the moment. Emotions are like that roller coaster, but what I love about roller coasters is that they're controlled. That's the same thing about who we are as people. What we do, and as we speak, and as we live, as leaders, as impact people, we have to be in control of where we go and what we do at all times. Because you never realize that the impact that you can be making. I was sitting there at a hospital just visiting, and I overheard someone callously say that somebody may not make it. The phrase won't make it, cannot make it, resonated inside of them so much so that it broke them. So I remember when I heard it, I was like, man, I got to somehow make my way over to the hospital bed to be able to say something to the person. And I wanted to encourage them that even though they're telling you you may not make it, they're telling your family you may not make it, understand that there's still a chance. And if you got a chance, then take the chance. Fight for it. Desire it. Man, let light into this room. Speak. So as a chaplain, I step in and I just start to encourage them. It doesn't mean a death sentence just because somebody else doesn't see life. I want to say the same thing to you. No matter what it is that you're going through, whatever trial, whatever you're facing, whatever difficulties, whatever lack of acceptance that you're dealing with, it doesn't mean a death sentence over your life. What you are and what you have is can be bigger and better than anybody can imagine. But you got to imagine it. You got to see it. You got to believe it when no one else does. You can't be resilient without being tested. Sometimes it's a setup for you to take a step up. This is what I can tell you. When I was in the hospital, I didn't have that person around me initially. I've been in 34 surgeries before I was 11 years of age, by the time I was 11. And each time I wanted somebody there to speak life over me. I remember those words. Will I be okay? Will this be okay? And after a while, you become a veteran of surgeries and pain. But just because you're a veteran, it means you're experienced with something, doesn't mean you have to live in that. My battlefield was not meant to be a hospital bed or the confines of a hospital. The battlefield is truly of the mind. We've got to feed ourselves positive words, affirmations, positivity. Read, listen to absolute motivation, listen to quotes that are affirming. Because when you do so, you set yourself up in a positive light. I don't care what your background is. Everybody goes through some trouble. Everybody goes through some trials. But everybody isn't you. You're unique. You're one of a kind. There is nothing that you are facing that you can't defeat, you can't overcome, you can't beat. That's why I'm telling you, November 23rd is where you need to be because we are bringing in people who have been through something to become something. CEOs, the founder of StockX is coming, Chris Kaufman. Can you imagine having a billionaire available to you? How did you make it? When did you want to quit? How do you do? What's your why? And how did you get to your so that? The so that is you made the money so that you can do this in the world. And now that you found a way to do something in the world, what's on your heart and passion? Perhaps you've got an idea, a concept, and say, man, I need somebody who believes in me to help me get to the next level. Perhaps that investor is right there in that room. Larry Namer, the founder of ETV, Entertainment Television, is coming. Having that guy there in the room to help you with the concepts, ideas. How did he start it from nothing, became a billionaire as well? That guy is in the room. I'm sitting there talking. We have a special message from my our good friend and buddy and our star, Neil McDonough, for the event. Quentin Aaron, who was in Blindside, will be there debuting in a song that he is singing. Most of the people didn't even know the skill set was there, that he's a singer. 6'8", amazing, has a presence, loving heart, but he will come to minister in an amazing way. You see, we have Dylan Berry, who has 29 platinum albums. 29 platinum albums. I mean, magnificent results of what he's done. Infectious, charismatic, loving, ethical guy. When you hear his story, hear him speak, see what he brings to the table, you'll understand why he's a part of the Absolute Nation now. You got Jessica coming for a debut to be able to speak. You'll hear her keynote because we got to support and bring in our ladies. Our women have a word as well. It's not a man's world. In fact, if you want to do that James Brown song and those things where he's like, it's a man's world. Say it wouldn't be nothing without a woman. Neither is an experience at an event like this. Still grabbing other women, still going to grab them. If you're watching, you want to be involved, you want to do some things, do the first step. Buy a ticket. It's only $200 to be able to get you a ticket for the event. Be at the event because the event is where I'm going to be looking to connect, finding the next talent, speaking into life into people. Kelly Cardenas is coming. My good friend, my brother is going to be coming and he's going to be sharing some things. Not as an MC as he always has been, but you get to see what's on the other side of the personality when he's not trying to host. Some of you have a skill set and people have boxed you into a corner and say, this is who you are. How about if I tell you the truth? What if you're more than that? Maybe your skill set would open up more doors than that. Maybe there's something significant in your life that you bring to the table that everyone else underestimates you about. You got to get in the rooms where that can be highlighted and seen. I got Mark Yasnik, one of the top hypnotists in the world, but he's funny, he's amazing, he unlocks people. The audience participating in that event is going to be off the charts. You don't want to miss that. But wait a minute. I'm bringing someone all the way from Australia. He comes from the land from down under. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Curry. Curry, get on here, man. Introduce yourself to Absolute Nation.
Oh, hey, James.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here on the Sunshine Coast of Australia.
That's it, man.
As we were talking about before, James, it's
success. Shit, that was amazing. What did you say? Success?
I said, well, success is not convenient.
Ooh. Guys, that's one of the keys there. Success will never be convenient. If you want it, you got to get up and go get it. Kerrick, I got you up at 1 in the morning there in Australia. Would you tell a little bit about your background? You got movies. I see you got the Rocky thing. You've traveled. You've been on stage. You've been around some of the biggest giants in the world, Tony Robbins and everybody else. But in spite of being around them, you never played up or showed up small. What kept your mind in the game when everybody else had a huge name?
Yeah, James, my biggest fear in life is to live an unfulfilled life, to get the end of it and look over. I obviously recognize my accent. I'm not from Australia. I was born and raised in Chicago, actually, and I started acting when I was 12 years old at Second City. I spent a bunch of years there at Second City with George Wendt from Cheers and Jim Belushi. I was like, I think 12 years old when I first started. So I lied about my age. And then when I was 18 years old, I left for Hollywood and I wound up doing 38 films. I wound up doing Lockup with Sylvester Stallone and Delta Force 2 with Chuck Norris. And during filming of the movie, I wound up experiencing a helicopter crash. We're on the set, a real helicopter crash where 5 guys died.
Wow.
My best friend was on fire. He was the key grip when I carried him out, and he died in my arms on the way to the hospital. So for two and
So
a half years.
brother, I don't want to go straight past that. First of all, you know, to be there and when things weren't scripted and when things weren't that somebody actually died and they died in your arms. Well, man, thank you for not only comforting him during that transition from life into the everlasting, but thank you for even taking the time to honor him. But if you don't mind, what was his name? Because I always want his name to be known.
I lost 5 of my friends that day. Mike Graham was the key grip. Don Marshall, the lighting director. Gotti Donzik, he was the cameraman. Jojo Imperial was the pilot. And then Jeff Brewer, who I knew for like 8 years, he was a stuntman who died.
Wow. Well, the reason why I always love it, thank you for sharing their names, is an honor. Everyone has a presence and impact. And when they're in our lives and something happens, rather than just skate over it, I like to take the time to at least honor them and their families. Thank you for being there for them in that transitioning moment. And how did that change your life or the trajectory of your mindset or way you saw things?
James, after for 2.5 years, I had a gun in my mouth, a .357 Smith & Wesson pistol.
Wow.
Drugs up my nose. I wasn't partying. I was trying to kill myself, and thank God I'm not a success at everything in life. But it was one of those moments where I woke up and I realized that, man, if my 5 friends had a chance to live right now, they'd be saying I was stupid, that they would live. They wouldn't be mourning what happened to them in their own way if it was somebody else. And so I decided to, instead of feel depressed about what happened, is honor those 5 guys and not only live my life to the fullest, but to carry them with me so that they could enjoy the highest levels of life with what I did with it. And so that's been the driving force that keeps me going. And since then, I've won gold medals at the Olympics with the women's beach volleyball team here in Australia. I've work in 17 countries. I have a best-selling book. I mean, I've been in the movies. It drives me to live the fullest life possible because, well, it's going to be over either way. I mean, it's going to be
That's
over
right.
whether you hate it or whether you loved it. So you might as well love it.
Well, listen, man, my thought is like you got to live life out loud. You got to live it big enough for 5 additional people. Because if they had another chance, if they had another breath, if they could have another moment, they'd live all out. If they said you got 24 hours, they'd get everything accomplished in that. And so since you have it, tomorrow isn't promised for any of us. But since we got today, we got to do something with it. And so I love that mindset, man. Being a best-selling author, traveling the world, you said having gold medals. The real cool part was the fact that you were with Chuck Norris. You know, Chuck Norris is the only guy. If you Google his name, it says you don't Google Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris finds you, right? And it is the fact that you have been around those. What have you learned that you would pass on to people? If I'm starting off my career, either as a speaker or someone who wants to be an actor, or whatever it is that they want to do, what advice in starting out would you give people?
The best, James, is that, hanging out. I've known Sly Stallone since I was 18 years old. His very best friend is my Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid. John Hirschfeld is his name. John was Sly's roommate in college, and are still to this day the very best of friends. And what they taught me is that you have to learn how to sell yourself. Like you got to sell yourself as much as what you do. So Sly taught me back in the 80s. He goes, "Cure." Like we were having lunch at a normal restaurant, and he shows up with the bodyguards and the black SUVs and all that stuff. And I said, "Sly, we really need bodyguards." And he said, "I'm a movie star, and I have to show up like that. Nobody wants to see me show up in a soccer mom van." He said, "I got to present myself way because that's what people are investing in." And so what you really taught me is that, you sell yourself, and that means not your soul. You promote yourself at the same level you promote what you do, because there's a lot of actors out there who are waiting tables who will never get seen because sure, they have the talent, but they don't know how to sell it. They don't know how to themselves. And so, that's how I came to Australia and started really promoting myself here. And the speakers here in Australia are like, "Man, this guy's everywhere. because I'm on the media, radio, and I'm doing all this promotion stuff. I even broke the world's record for fire walking, where I did 266 feet at 1,200 degree coals to promote to get some promotion while I'm out here. And then all of a sudden, the beach volleyball girls approached me, and then how much media I got surrounding that. So I learned how to sell myself, because people would rather buy the detergent that they saw on TV than they would the generic blue stripe stuff you'd buy in the store, even though it's the same detergent. It's in a different box. It's made in the same factory. People have this perception that it must be better if I've seen it marketed. And so that's why
that's right.
And sell yourself.
It's amazing. It's kind of like this. I used to be the marketing manager at Costco. It's a wholesale place, here in America. Well, they're around the world in many places now. But
they're here now.
Yeah, see, so when you go into the liquor aisle, and people would see, like, for example, a certain goose drink, right? They would see that bottle and it's $54.99 or whatever it is. They will go ahead and they'll buy that, but next to that bottle is a bottle a little bit bigger that's frosted as well, but it's called Kirkland. And so they were like, I'm not getting Kirkland, not realizing that it's private labeled, the same drink is just $25 less, because they would rather have this one. I know this one has perception on it, even though it's the very same taste. There is nothing different. They ran them down the same line at the same time and private labeled it, but it's how you show up. If you look like a no-name, they will treat you like a no-name. There's not the same respect given to it. But if you can show up as a monster, be the monster. Don't be the one be big, be as large as you can be what you are. They talk about like being attacked. If you see a bear, don't run from the bear. You trigger its prey instincts, but get big as you can and scare it off. Now, that may be intimidating to people, but the truth is you need to be fully engaged, fully you, to show up. When you said he showed up, man, did you need the SUV? Did you need that? Even if it comes to a small thing, you say, well, I don't have bodyguards. I don't have that. And I'm going to be precocious. You can get in your own head and own way if you want. But there's a fact is you are selling you. People are purchasing you. If you can't sell you well, how are you going to sell their products? How are you going to sell anything from stage? You must be able to show up and sell yourself.
Absolutely. And it's the thing is that I look at myself as a product. So that's why when you say sell yourself, it kind of sounds like you're selling your soul or selling, your integrity. It's not that at all. It's about looking at yourself as a product and then marketing that product. Once the product gets hired, then the human being can step in and do my job, which is what I love doing. So there's a couple stages to it. One of them would be getting the job. The next one is doing the job. But I also think if you present yourself at that level, it also holds you to a higher standard to do a better job, to show up at a higher level, to be that person that really shines in front of people's eyes, because, well, you're marketed more. And so that's one of the things I did with the women's beach volleyball team here in Australia was with all the marketing that we did, all the promotion, all the media that we did. I knew it would make the girls play at a better level because there was so much focus on them. And we wound up beating the best team in the world, the Brazilians.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Did they have the belief going in that they'd be able to beat Brazil?
No, they actually had lost against Brazil in Atlanta, which was the first time that beach volleyball was ever in the Olympics. The Australians walked home with bronze, but we had been beaten 16 out of 17 times leading up to the 2000 Olympics by the Brazilians. Wow. And the one time that we won, we barely won. So you can see the belief system, but that was part of what I worked on with them. And I even said that, this is exactly what I planned. And they were like, well, why would you do that? I go, well, if we beat them ahead of the Olympics, everybody would know we're coming. But man, we're going to come right up to the Olympics and then beat them, and nobody's going to see us. And they're like, man, you think of everything. I go, right in the moment.
Listen, The fact that you were able to get them there was about that mindset. That even if you've had a series of losses, and there are people who are watching now, I've got a series of losses in my life. I've gone through this, and this, traumas, and all these other dramas, and all that stuff. Yet now here you are saying that even with all those setbacks, you can lose 16 out of 17 times and still come out a winner. And especially you had them win on the biggest stage. I want to encourage everyone with this idea. You don't have to keep score of your losses, track of those. Turn them into lessons. I now learned how not to lose this way. Listen, I don't care who you are, you're going to face adversity. It comes with it. But if you face adversity, then you become an adversary to it and you can overcome it because you faced it enough that you understand what you're looking at. You had to have them believe that day that you set them up for this. You want them to believe that they could beat you. So you held back. Now we're going to unleash. What was the celebration like when they realized we just defeated this monster?
There was a moment where that last ball goes out, that last point happens, and you freeze. Everybody freezes. Like you're wondering, call back? Is there a do-over? Is there a penalty? Something, and then all of a sudden we realize that we did it. I burst into tears. I mean, this was 2.5 years with the girls. And there's a famous comedian here in Australia named Jamoan who was sitting like 2 rows in front of me. And he's talking to his friend in Ireland going, man, they got this Yank here who's in tears, man. He's like sobbing in the audience. And all of a sudden, one of the 2 players grabs the microphone of the announcer and says, ladies and gentlemen, Keurig Ashley, the world record firewalker who taught us to have the brains to win this game, and stood me up. And then he's on the phone. It's the firewalker guy, and so he puts me on the phone with his friend in Ireland. And I'm like, I don't even know what to say to you right now. And then they called me the sand, which the cops had surrounded me, and they said, you touch that sand, son, and you're going to jail tonight. And she's got a microphone. She goes, you're the world record holder for firewalking. You're going to let that stop you? And the audience says, let him down. Let him down. And so I said, gentlemen, I guess I'm going to jail tonight, but I'm getting my hug. And so I jumped out, and there was the big, hugs and celebration. The media was all over us. And then the cop said to me, he said, look, we knew who you were. We just didn't want the stadium following you over the rail because this is highly inappropriate at the Olympics. And I said, well, I guess you can take me to jail. And they said, don't worry about it. We're just curious. So why would an American come and help Australians win at the Olympics? And I said, because first, it's not about countries. It's about people who ask me to help them fulfill their dreams. And that's what I do.
Ooh. Dude, I love that. The fact that you hold that world record, the fact that you've done that stuff, the fact that you've overcome stuff, it makes you able to help people through that. But what I really love is the fact that you're going to be coming to join us in Tennessee, man. People are going to get a chance to hear you live, hear you speak there on November the 23rd. See, I told you, man, we're bringing together some of the world's greatest people with experiences to pass on, share with you so that you can overcome. Dude, I even got to tell you this, Kerry, you're going to love. I've gotten a company called Cypress Adaptive that's coming in from Germany. They have invented this thing so that I can now walk on fire at least halfway. All right, so they have a prosthetic machine that makes sockets. Sockets are what amputees need. That's the number one component. You don't have that, you're not getting anywhere. And they made it so that you can get one made in 5 minutes. Anywhere else in the world, you don't get one for 2-3 weeks. As fast as you can do it, 2 to 3 weeks. They do it instantly, 5 minutes. That means kids in third world countries can get legs made that moment, right there on the spot, and leave. They're working on those type of things. And I was going to tell you this, when those people are there, they're one of our sponsors. One of the highlights, I think, will be you. Because you're going to help us with mindset. You're going to speak life over us. Your stories, your experiences. The fact that you're coming from Australia to America, man, I got to thank you in advance for the impact you're going to make on the lives of everyone there.
Thank you, James. I'm honored to even share the stage with you. This is a dream come true. I'm a raving fan. And since you and I have met, we instantly felt like kindred spirits because we're cut like the same stuff. And I'm honored, and I love doing what I get to do. It's been 40 years of. I scare myself when I say that now. Doing it, I think I started. I think I was 4 years old when I started, but it's. I'm so excited, and Tennessee is where we finished Delta Force 2, the movie I was in the helicopter crash on. We were actually in Tennessee to finish the movie, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the last time I've been in Tennessee. So it would be a great thing to go back and have
Man, what a ministry that will be. I know this much is that I know you're going to bring something wonderful there. And the fact that you're coming back to the scene of where a scene was made in your life, and to come back and to speak into our lives. Thank you for doing that. From the day that I first met you, I remember I was just about to speak in South Dakota. And man, here to us, I was like, man, this is my first time having a packed arena that is just here to hear a message from me. Not realizing and watching how the growth and development of my career path has been going. I didn't know I'd be here. Didn't know we'd have 5-star resorts that we would be going to and doing this, because I didn't dream that big. Oftentimes, as speakers or whatever you want to do, we think in part of the moment. I'm just trying to pay rent. I'm trying to make it. If I could just make this much, if I could ever speak on this stage, we think of one moment. But life is about stages. You've done all these great things. What's the next stage? What's the next thing that you want to do?
I'm writing my next book called The Mystical Mentor, which is going to be turned into a movie, which I'm really excited about.
Wow.
Is that I'm the vice president, or I think they call me the director of navigation for a new streaming service, which is awesome. I'm very excited about that. And Don and Melinda Boyer asked me to be in their next movie, the Beyond series. So they're on Netflix. So it's kind of funny, is I've been out of Hollywood for a long time, but all of a sudden it's dragging me back in with all this movie and TV stuff, which I'm really excited about. But I get to go in at a different level. See, when you're going as an actor, actors are pretty much props that talk. And I'm not insulting anybody, when you understand what Hollywood's all about. So to go back in and have a drive-on pass to the studio and going and somebody where I'm just doing my job. I'm not playing guys or whatever. I'm really excited about that, and coming back and certainly being on stage with you. And that's really my home, is doing live presentations, because COVID, people did all this stuff online, but there's nothing like getting people in a room, because there's a synergy that happens in a room that you can't have anywhere else, and that energy changes your life, let alone what you're getting from the speakers and the moment. And it might even be somebody who's on the staff who directs you to the bathroom or gives you instructions or something like that changes your life. There's all kinds of moments that happen, and that's why I just love venues, and to be there as a conglomerate, as a team together to build your day for these people is going to be amazing.
Dude, I gotta tell you, this is gonna be crazy. When I think about the lineup of people that are coming, the fact that you're coming from Australia to Tennessee, man, listen, you have to get your ticket now. The idea that you might be able to miss this, so like James, it's $200 a ticket. That's it for a 5-star resort with meal included. You can't miss it. This was not about making income. It was about making an impact. I wanted so that people who are amputees can come, people who are dreamers can come, people that have ambition. You want to go from one here to make the admission that I realized that the biggest thing in my way was my belief system. What got me from the factory floor to that stage is a belief switch. I believed that I was born for more. I began to believe that I was supposed to do more. And as I began to do things correct, I started seeing that every step, there was another step to take. Like, oh, wow, okay, so there's a new level. And every level, there's a new devil you face. You're going to face betrayals. You're going to face doubts. You'll meet idols and be like, oh, my God, they're not like I thought. Then you realize, you know what? I just need to focus on my mission and who I am. And the type of people that are supposed to be connected with me will reveal themselves. And then when they do, then you'll connect and you'll go somewhere. Man, Carrick, let me ask you this. I was talking about relationships on our last time that we got on here. And on Monday, How important is it for people to be able to manage relationships, to build relationships in order to go to the next level?
It's critically important. Collaboration is my key word. Always is. Everybody's out there trying to, be the best, be the one that stands out. But the power is in the power of a team. I had the distinct honor. I was on stage here with Arnold Schwarzenegger. As the keynote that opened for him, and I sent word back to the States that I was, in the marketing materials, and all of a sudden I get a text message from Sylvester Stallone to come have lunch with him at his restaurant in Beverly Hills. So, by the way, when Sly texts you, you actually show up. And so I get there, and he has Arnold sitting at the table waiting for me just so I can meet him, so that when I'm going to be on stage with him, we've already met each other and got to know each other. And, first at the table is like the 6 same guys that used to have dinner with Sly and me back when I lived in Hollywood 30 years ago. Same friends, same Sly's brother, John Hirschfeld. Because Sly surrounds himself. He said, when you're on top, what people don't understand is the air is really thin and there's not many people up here. It's really lonely. So you have to surround yourself with people that you trust and you care about. Arnold told me at the table, he said, Kirk, the biggest misconception of me is that I'm a self-made man. He said, there's nothing farther from the truth. He said, I've had help every step of the way. And the only reason I got help was I asked for it. He said that only poor people don't get help because they don't ask for it, because they're out there trying to do it on their own and show everybody else they can do it by themselves. He said, it's a hard ride. It's a lonely ride. And you got nobody to celebrate with.
Ooh, man, listen, that's the stuff. I was thinking about those type of messages can change whole perspectives for people. Listen, if you want to know how it is that big people became big, most people think, well, they were fortunate, they were lucky. No, man. It is you had a desire and you had a gift that you were willing to give away at times. You had a desire and a gift that you were willing to be broken in order to be remade at times. You had to reinvent yourself, but you also had to connect yourself with positive relationships that would force you to grow. And not every positive relationship means somebody speaking positivity over you. You need somebody who can be honest with you and say, man, that sucks. Yes, men have gotten a lot of people in trouble. People just say, yeah, we with you. Yeah, we with, because they benefit from you. That means you're the smartest person in the room, or you're probably the only one with talent in that circle. You need to get into circles where you can be challenged. When you can be in a network room and people around you all have impressive resumes, that's what they've done. But they also have the ability to resume, same word, different way, resume doing things in their life because of what they've done. They have still a passion, drive. Here, you'll be in a room with people like that. When Curry begins to talk, you got to be able to listen. You got to be able to take notes. You got to be able to ingest that stuff and be like, let me go out and do something with it. My hope is that somebody gets a break through your own mindset, break through your barriers, and builds relationships. Man, I got to say this, Kirk. I had a struggle with along the way. There are people you will sometimes try to pull along with you. You're like, follow me. Man, you want to be the Harriet Tubman of your moment. Pulling people with you. Come with me, man. We're going out of this thing. We're free now. Let's go. And then they begin to become jealous, envious, or people will even expect you to give them what they haven't merited yet. Like you're on your way, or they'll stab you in the back to try to get in front of you, not realizing that all they did was help you switch directions so you could get there faster. How many is that scenario?
Oh, more times than you can count, James. It's part of it. That we're all in a certain orbit, right? And then we decide to get a different orbit. And some people, they decide they don't want to go change orbits. So I don't have to judge those people. Yet you watch people's life. It shows them the ability to choose their true colors. Now people go, oh, money changed that person. No, it didn't. Actually, money just gave them the ability to show their true self. So
That's it.
James, I've been married 3 times. Obviously, I'm not a success at everything in life. And 2 of my wives have cheated with friends of mine. And, people ask me if I'm upset with that. And I go, no, because I didn't cheat. See, the thing is, the only thing I control is myself. I can't control other people. As soon as you have expectations in other people, you're setting yourself up for pain. Have a higher expectation on yourself, because when you have a higher expectation on yourself, you'll live up to that expectation, and that's where peak performance is. Align yourself with people who can, but sometimes you're going to have to kind of like a stage of a rocket. You're going to have to leave that stage behind because you've already exhausted all of that. You know, that person was who they were in your life, but they don't want to go to the next orbit. They don't want to keep growing. Socrates told this story way back in the Socrates days, you know, about people living in a cave and they were all chained up, and one of them breaks free of his chains, and the rest of them refuse to leave the cave. They're like, hey, you don't know what it's like out there. It's dangerous out there. And the moral of the story really is that, you know, people would rather drag you back to the hole than climb out into the light themselves. And so that's part of it. Why I was saying that, you know, the air is thin up here and it's lonely at the top, so to speak, but it's really not when you surround yourself with other like-minded people. But you have to probably make some new friend groups as you're moving up stages, because even people who came up stages with you, there's a certain peak stage that they won't go past. And so, you know, there's all kinds of stuff. I've been ripped off for millions of dollars over the years. You know, I've had people do the dirty on you, and wives cheat happen. And I go, well, look, man, there's people in a wheelchair who don't even get a date. So what I'm complaining, a woman.
So in fact, man, I would say this, like, I don't care how bad it gets in your life. Every storm runs out of rain. You got to just remember that, man, I'm going to survive this. I got a choice. I'm going to go ahead and go through the storm, or I'm going to allow the storm to destroy me. And I realize that people will bring about tumultuous moments in your life, but when they do, you got to realize they're not the ones in control of it. God is. And if you believe that you are more built for more, you can survive that. Someone exiting your life doesn't mean the end of yours. In fact, what it can be is that they are opening the path for you to upgrade. It doesn't matter if you said you were married 2, 3 times. Many of us have had failed relationships. What does matter is that you kept a relationship with yourself. When you were at the point of wanting to take a gun and put it in your mouth and said, not today. When you decided you lived big enough to be able to give enough power and encouragement to a team to become champions. When you decided to walk on fire, man, you were already walking through the halls of hell. You just came out without the same smoke. You came out different. And now I look at you, man, and I'm like, I cannot wait for you to hit the stage. I can't wait for them to be able to network, talk with you, touch you, and then hear from you. Then the fact that we have so many people who, listen, you need to be there, guys. If you're watching, be there. Keystone Resort is where we're going to be in Loretto, Tennessee. And the reason why you'll love this, some of the people that you'll meet now will be so massive next year, because even as he's talking about it, it isn't what he's done internationally only. It is what he's about to do. And so when you see the next movie, you see that next thing, you're like, oh, I met that guy. Get there, connect, build a relationship so that you don't get to say, I saw him, I have a photo of him or heard him. You can actually connect and build a relationship. You got to be in proximity. For me, proximity is everything. Being around you, talking to you, fellowshipping, having matching haircuts. Man, I'm loving this, brother.
If we put our heads together, we make a perfect asset of ourselves.
Yeah, that's it, man. We look like a new MasterCard, you know what I mean? If we put our heads down. You know, it is the logos. We have, if you were, there's some things you wanted to share from your heart. What are you working on? What are you're doing now in Australia?
I'm working with a few different businesses right now and taking them to like astronomical levels. Some of the cool things, James, is I get to work with individuals. There's a woman I'm working with right now that had a very painful, tumultuous childhood. She's an adult now with her husband. Affected her whole life, living on the couch, can't get off the couch. And through working with her now, she's out there living fully. Her and her husband have both lost dramatic amounts of weight. You know, it's funny is when they cast off emotional garbage, how the weight goes off with it. And this passion for life, this excitement for life, her husband says She won't even sit on the couch now, let alone lay on it for days like she used to do. So it's really fulfilling for me to watch people change their lives. I also think, James, in Tennessee, the neat thing for the audience is you're going to see this congruent messaging that comes through all these different people and all these stories. So the stories are going to be different, except for the strategies are still the same because there's only one formula for success. And when you hear it from multiple sources, there's a part of your brain that starts to loosen up that goes, wait a minute, everybody's saying the same thing. This must be it. And that's where real change happens. I know people like yourself and myself is that, you know, I've seen so many speakers and I spent 5 years in a row with Tony Robbins and the rest of those things that you hear it enough times, it finally breaks loose your brain and you start to use it. So it's going to be one of the most impactful days ever. And I'm excited because not only do I go as one of the speakers, but I also go as one of the people listening. And they're always open. I'm always trying to, what's the next piece of the puzzle? What's the next thing that's going to move me forward?
Well, I'm going to say this to kind of surprise you. You know how today speakers will come, go on stage, speak, and then leave. Like, hey, I got my money, I got this, and was like not realizing it. Man, if you show up, if you get the opportunity, the real message is how you convey and speak and interact with the audience before and afterwards. We are not sacred cows. Nobody touch me and talk to me before I go out. When I come out, nobody touch me and talk. Well, man, what is that? You have to be relatable. You want to be relational. You have to be, especially if Gura can come in from Australia and say, I sit and I become a pupil. I speak and I teach, but I become a pupil to the rest of the speakers. If he's doing that, then what should we be doing? We learn from each other. We grow from each other. We challenge each other. We spark stuff. And then, man, I can't wait. We got to come if we're coming here, coming home, bringing you back here to America, I can't wait till we come to Australia. Can you imagine, man, we bring the impact, you and I together there in Australia, touching the world? Oh, my goodness.
We're working on that, James, and I'll tell you, they're going to love you here as they have me. Because I've learned the Australian culture, and yet, I bring in that American zest for life that we have, that we're kind of famous for in the world space. And Australia has been super. I mean, I've been here 26 years now. They're going to love you, and they're going to love us together because that 1-2 punch of what they're going to get here. Also, New Zealand. I've been to New Zealand a couple hundred times, and they're in awe that a world-class speaker like myself would actually come to New Zealand because most people think it's not big enough, not enough audience. But I don't have that attitude. See, it's something I learned from the book Illusions by Richard Bach. He wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and he said that a master is not judged by the size of his crowds. So if one person shows up, which I've had happen before, I gave him a full 2-hour presentation. You might want to sit in the second.
I've been there.
My energy, but I did a full 2 hours for the guy, and he cried. He couldn't believe it.
Hey, forgive me. I'm in the gym, and could you hear me? Because I faded out for a second there. I'm trying to fix that. As we're going through that, I should be in here working out. Instead, I'm trying to work out this Wi-Fi situation. But I'm glad I have you because you're self-sufficient. You can keep yourself going. I will say this, man. I wish you were able to be coming here this coming weekend. I'm headed to Atlanta, though. I'll be speaking at the International Christian Film Festival. We have about 500 people that are there that are already registered, people that can make it there. I promise you it's going to be next level. We have the gospel artist Jessica Reedy from BT's Sunday's Best. She's just a phenomenal force, 2 million downloads of her last song alone. I mean, just an amazing person coming. She's going to open up and sing for us. We have a ton of other people. I'm going to be introducing some speakers who are on the channel for the first time there. What I love is the fact that in our sphere, I'm going to be introducing, I can't wait. I got this young man. His name is Jeff Mann. He's just starting his career. The guy is fiery. And I mean, listen, he is, you can get him sparked up in a moment. I love that passion about him. But you're going to get a moment. I want to introduce you guys to him. And I just want you to convey and speak into his life as well after you hear him. So I'll just take a moment. Anytime I can have somebody of your stature speak into the young life of a speaker and introduce them, I know I can fast forward them in their development eons because of the proximity. Sometimes you can't be something great until you see something great because you didn't know it was possible. But then again, I got to tell you this. This is a funny story. So I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Master Chief, if Jeff shows up, just bring him on in. So I was in high school. I was already 6'4", maybe about 240 or so I could kind of be bullyish, and run over kids who are 180 pounds, whatever, because I had more of a man's physique by the time I'm a senior. Just so happens that I kind of got that idea, like, man, nobody can stop me. And so I'm running over folks. I end up playing against some NBA players, and I found out there's a different level with some grown men and them playing against boys. Well, it's the same way when it comes to speakers. There are boys, and then there are men. There's the grown, there's the adult version. And here we have the big boys. And speaking of big boys, there's one right there, Jeff Mann. Jeff has that young man looking beard, that good looking beard that most people buy those things, man. You just been blessed. How you doing this morning, sir?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys?
Look good. Listen, I got Couric Ashley. Couric has traveled the world over. He's out of Australia. He's flying in for November 23rd. And I was telling the folks, man, they're about to get a preview of some young people or speakers that are coming up. And I was telling them a little bit about you. Jeff, do me a favor. Tell them a little bit about your path as everyone's listening.
Yeah, so basically, I just started off as a police officer at a young age, 21, and went through a lot of different things, a lot of trauma and experiences I didn't handle the right way, and ultimately stumbled into what a lot of cops do, which is alcohol to cope, and ended up losing my career over some bad decisions off duty, and then spent the next 13 years kind of pouting about it, more or less, and continuing to drink and make bad decisions, just despite what God was trying to do and had me on a path. But I kept doing everything I could to ruin that with alcohol. And last year, November 30th, I was in the hospital detoxing, and my heart stopped. And I remember coming to and staring at my feet, shaking uncontrollably, and just having this feeling about me that I was built for more than this, and I'm not going to let a poison kill me. So from that moment, I knew the only way to never be back in that position in that way was to not drink again. And so today I'm 314 days sober and have zero desire or.
See, you can't beat that. We celebrate that, man. That's 314 days of freaking victory. And now you're speaking into people's lives and you're passing that on. What's your message? What's the passion? So that you've overcome something? Now you're speaking into other people's lives. What's the thing that's your message now?
I let people know they're not alone. That's why I share my message, that's why I share my story. And obviously there's a lot of layers to everything. That was really the real brief version, but I want to let other people know they're not alone and that there's victory on the other side. It all starts with valuing yourself and really taking control of the fact that we're all built for greatness in our own way, and there's a purpose and a plan. If we're still breathing, there's still something to be done. So.
Well, Couric, man, you've spoken on stages with Tony Robbins, traveled the world, speaking all those things. Speak into his life, man, and just encourage him as he's starting this path and will become a massive impact in others' lives. What would you say to him now?
It's a gift that was given to me years ago when I was in Hawaii, and he said, Couric, every day that you're not doing what you know you're supposed to be doing in your heart, there's people who you're supposed to help that are slipping through the cracks. And it really held me to a higher standard that I go, man, I have to activate now. I have to live. And that's when I let go of the movie industry, because I used to play bad guys in the movies. And he said, you know, it's really conflicting. Your two stories. You're out there teaching this, but in the movies, you're showing that. And I'm like, yeah, but that's acting. And he goes, don't you say that justification is below the line? I'm like, oh. And so, you know, give you the same gift is that, you know, when it's in your heart, it's bigger than us. We know it. There's something you can't run from. You can't hide under a desk because it's still going to be there with you. So we have to get out there and do it, because there's people who more than ever need it now and have to hear that message. But it's not just the people in the room. It's those people who touch those people who are in the room, and the ripple effect, the processional effect starts kicking in, you know, the ripples that come off of that. And all the interaction of all of us together, even speakers being backstage. I mean, there's going to be profound things that happen and magic that happens just by us all showing up in that room that day. And I'm excited to meet you in person.
Man, listen, this is going to be epic, man. This is going to be epic. It is about developing and getting to that level. What I love about Jeff is one of those guys, man. You know, the Bible says iron sharpens iron. When iron clashes, it makes each other better, and he makes people better. I love his accountability, you know, but that's what makes him unique. I was telling him, and I tell every speaker, what makes you unique? Be you, be authentic, be real, because that is going to sustain you. Try to be like anybody else, or be a carbon copy of someone else will make you unnecessary. But if you can be you, authentically you, show up the way you are, backstage, off stage, on stage, who can compete against that? That's how you grow. That's how you, Kirk, you got movies coming up. You're doing some massive things. All I want to tell you is that today you made my life better. You spoke into lives. I can't wait for you to show up. Loretta, Tennessee, you better get ready, man. We got some powerful things coming. We got powerful people. You'll hear some speakers that make their debut. In fact, we'll be in Atlanta, Georgia this coming Saturday, where you get to hear Jeff speak. Come check him out. We'll see you there. God bless you all. Absolute Nation, we're out of here. Thank you guys so much. Master Chief, send us off.
Say hi to James. Made me an entrepreneur. Teaching me day after day after day till it all was a blur. Now he on tour, he can drop in your city tonight. Never the Zen coming in for the fight.